Welcome to the Lights Lounge, your weekly home for all things Las Vegas Lights FC. We'll be here every single week in 2025. I usually say Tuesday afternoons. It's a Wednesday afternoon right now. We're a little bit behind this week, but we'll be here every midweek. You can join us here for a deeper dive into everything that happens on the pitch, including match previews, match recaps, analysis, alongside a new guest every episode. Coming up, the Lights are on the road to face a familiar opponent in a new competition. It's Orange County away in the USL Jägermeister Cup, a mid-season cup competition featuring all the teams from USL League One and the championship. More to come on that. Alongside me today to chat takeaways from last week's matches, look forward to the Jägermeister Cup, I have the family man, the elder statesman of the squad, Joe Gyau. Joe, welcome to the lounge.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight into it, and I guess let's start with the tough questions, because last week was a disappointing week for the team.
Yeah.
Just to recap, there was a 2-2 draw and a loss in penalties against Chattanooga in the midweek against Chattanooga. You started that game, and then on Saturday, it was a 4-1 loss to Tulsa in the league. You came on as a halftime substitute in that game. Just tell me a little bit about the general takeaways you have from that match.
Going into Chattanooga, we knew it was going to be a tough match. You know, in a tournament like that, domestic tournaments where you play against a lower side, they're always going to be coming in like it's the game of their life, and we have to match that energy. And I think when they got that first goal on us, that kind of, I don't want to say it threw us off, but it kind of took a little bit of the air out of the balloon, so to say. You know, we knew it was going to be a fight after that. It was going to be a dog fight. We come back in it, we give up another goal, come back in it. And then, you know, double overtime is always tough. Heavy legs. You know, we had just played in Lexington.
Which was a lot of travel, by the way, which I think people don't realize. I mean, that's right. A connecting flight from Las Vegas to Chicago, exactly. A bus from Cincinnati, I think.
Cincinnati, you know, an hour and a half.
It's not an easy place to get to.
No, it's not, you know. So no excuses, but, you know, that's how it is with tournaments, midweek games. And, it was disappointing to get knocked out that early into the tournament. But, you know, things happen, we move. And then this past game against Tulsa, you know, quite disappointing as well. We gave up 3 goals in the first half. That's a tough feat for any team, you know, going into the half 3-0 down. I think, you know, second half we tried to, you know, get a little bit of momentum. But as I stated in our interview, that fourth goal that they got off of the set piece, that kind of killed us a little bit. But it's still early in the year, as we want to say. And if we look back the same time last year, we had a rough start as well. We were having trouble scoring. We were having trouble, you know, winning games. We had lost 6-0 to Charleston. So it's a long year. What do we say, like 40 games or something like that with all the tournaments, you know? Absolutely. So, you know, we got a long way to go, and now is not the time for us to be, you know, fretting about, you know, not a small thing, but getting stuck on these 2 losses. We move, we look ahead.
Yeah, it was Yunus Budati made his debut, and finally after some visa issues, he had media availability this morning, and I asked him, you know, as someone that's played a lot of games in this league, it was his 126th appearance in the USL Championship. What's it take to make playoffs? And he mentioned peaking at the right time. You don't want to be peaking at this point and then be on the downswing when playoffs come around, because ultimately those are the games that matter. You still have to get yourself there.
Exactly.
You need to figure things out in the long run to get to that point.
Yeah.
What do you think changed when you came on at halftime of that Tulsa game? What adjustments did the team make tactically that helped you snag that momentum? Obviously, it's unfortunate they get that goal. It kind of kills off that early momentum from the Val penalty. But what changed that made that second half a lot more competitive?
Just a few directions from the coach. He noticed that they were pressing us high, so he was just saying for us to go in behind, try to utilize the space in behind. Because when you have a team that's aggressive like Tulsa, obviously their center backs, they're pushing up almost at the half line. So instead of trying to play into that press every time, he's saying, you know, try and overlook that and get in behind. So I think that was a big thing. We made a couple adjustments in the formation. So, that plays into it. And then, me and Johnny, we come in, it's fresh legs.
Yeah.
It's always, it's always going to do something like that. It's always going to be difficult for the guys who've been playing. So
yeah, and I think something you excel at as well, like getting in behind, being like a really direct winger with a lot of pace. You got in behind the left back quite a bit.
Yeah.
So some success there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think to circle back on what you said, I mean, you were the post-game press conference interview, so you had to man up and speak to the media after a tough loss. But me and you were chatting on the way to that media availability and sort of talking about the sense of calm you need to have at this point. And I mean, I went back and looked at the results from last year. So last year through 6 matches, the team had 3 wins and 3 losses, 9 points, and you guys won your opening Open Cup game in overtime. So also a tight game. In 2025, we have 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 8 points, and an Open Cup penalty loss.
Yeah.
So we're talking very, very similar starts here.
Similar.
But last year, the next 4 matches were 4 straight losses, including that 6-0 battering at the Battery.
Right.
So for us now, looking at those next 4 matches, what needs to change so that it isn't the same as what last year was?
Yeah. We're looking at these 2 games. We're looking at these next games with a clean slate. You know, got to have a short memory in a season like this. Now, what is this? This is the new tournament, the Jägermeister Cup, right? Yep. So we want to do well in that. We already beat Orange County 1 time, so now we're going away. We're going on the road to play against them. We're not expecting it to be like how it was when we played them at home. We feel like it's going to be a different game. They're going to come out hard. We're going to do the same. And it's another way to build confidence. Even though this is still a Jägermeister Cup game, we still want to win it. It doesn't count against us in the league, so sometimes you can get a bad run of form in the league if you get, 2 losses in a row like this, and then just like how it happened with us last year. So now this one is a good step for us to build some confidence on the weekend to take that into the league. So
yeah, absolutely. And for a quick Jägermeister Cup summary, basically you have all the USL League One teams and all the USL Championship teams. So it's kind of like a mini Open Cup, an opportunity for some intra-league games. There's 4 total group play matches with some regionalized groups, and then you have to top your group or be one of the best second place teams, and then you move on to some some straight knockout matches. So basic stuff: 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, all that kind of stuff. There are penalty kicks if there's a draw, which is interesting. So you get an extra point for a potential penalty kick win. So it should be interesting. It should be an interesting little journey through here. And Eunice was saying the same thing this morning, that everyone now starts at 0 points for this Jägermeister Cup. So it is an opportunity to, all right, we can put away the start of the season.
Exactly.
Everyone's at the same point now. We can kind of start fresh in this competition.
Level playing field. Yeah,
absolutely. Orange County. Looking back at that game, which was a pretty dramatic one with Knight Pickering's late goal coming off the bench. I know you talked a little bit about that, but anything that you take from that game that the squad should be thinking about as they head to Orange County this weekend?
Just being resilient. That game showed resilience. We get that goal, 90 plus 4? 94th minute, at the death. And like I said before, the players that come off the bench usually can make a difference. You got fresh legs, you're able to run in behind, you're able to bring some energy to change the momentum, and that's exactly what Knight did. So going into this game, we know Orange County, they like to possess the ball, they like to play with the ball, they like to switch the point of attack. So now how will we go into that game? Obviously we're going to be away, but we still want to push the tempo of the game because we want to get the win. So I think that'll be the differentiating factor in this game.
Nice. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your status in the locker room. There's a reason you're on the pod today, right? I mean, it's a tough week last week, 2 tough losses, and I wanted someone that would come on and can speak to the bigger picture a little bit. You're 32 years old.
Yes, sir.
Born in 1992.
Yes, sir.
The next closest guy on the squad is Ryko, who is 28.
Crazy.
He was born in 1997.
Wow.
Everyone else is 26 years old or younger.
Wow.
So
what about Yoon?
Eunice might be a little older. Yeah, I might have missed. Eunice.
Eunice a little bit older than Ryko.
Yeah, so Eunice is in the middle there.
Yeah.
But still. It's a very, very young locker room. A lot of guys that are 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. You've got Val, who's the captain of the team at 26.
Yep.
Knight Pickering's 20.
I think he's 19. I think Knight's still 19.
Either 19 or 20.
Yeah,
so he's quite young. But for you, we were talking about a little bit about this on the walk over to the studio. You've got 2 kids. You're married. What is that dynamic like playing with a bunch of kids by your perspective?
Yeah. It's different, because now you're coming into the locker room. A lot of the chat is a little bit different. Like I'm coming into the locker room after dropping my kid off at school and changing a diaper and getting throw up on my chest and stuff like that. Yeah. And then and I'm coming into the locker room and guys are talking about, I don't know, going golfing. I don't got time for none of that. So, but nah, man, it's nice because I've been in their shoes, I've been at the beginning of my career. I've been overseas. I've been in the States. I went through all the ranks. So with a lot of these guys, I see a little bit of myself. And it's a nice change up because now you've got a little bit more responsibility to, keep guys calm, tell guys, hey, look, it's not the end of the world. This might happen next week. Something else might happen. Football changes fast.
Yeah.
I've been able to witness that firsthand. So, I think my role in the locker room is kind of just to keep guys cool. If guys have any questions, asking me about, how is stuff here? How is stuff there? Or what did you do when such and such? Yeah. Just to be a helping hand,
Yeah. What does that leadership group look like? Because obviously Val's the captain, so he's sort of like the face of that. But as with any locker room, there's typically a group of guys that sort of take on that mantle.
Yeah.
So who are those guys? You, Val, and what Gennaro a bit. Yeah. What do you view that role as someone that kind of supports the primary captain of the team?
Yeah, just, when there's issues within the team, we'll talk about it. If something happens, we'll have a little meeting in the locker room amongst ourselves just to get stuff straightened out. If guys have any issues or whatever, they can always come to us about stuff. So just creating a safe space, being able to be open because we're all comrades here. We got one common goal. So just to make everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah. What does having kids, how did that change your pro soccer career?
No sleep.
Recovery, yeah.
Recovery. It actually, I'm not going to lie, having kids, not one size fits all. You know how when they say like, you need to get 8-9 hours of sleep. You need to do this, you need to do that. Because before I had my kids, I was one of those where I was like, oh man, if I don't sleep right the night before the game, I'm thinking about it. I'm in my head. I'm very stuck in my routine. But after I had my first daughter, I remember specifically, we had just moved to Sweden. And my wife was dead tired because for 3 months she was in Germany while I was looking for an apartment. She finally came and she was exhausted. And my daughter, she was like up all night. She woke up at like 1 a.m., wanted to watch cartoons, wanted to do this. We have this game against Djurgården, the first game of the season. And she's like, I really can't. Please, can you just take her? Mm-hmm. So like we go out into the living room. We're watching Toy Story. We're watching Finding Nemo. I'm trying to like get her to go to sleep. She's just locked in on the TV. Next thing I know, it's like 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, I got to be out the door at 7 because we're busing 2 hours to go to the stadium. And I'm thinking like, oh God, I haven't gotten an ounce of sleep. Long story short, we ball out that game. Yeah. Like I was like, dang, 3 hours of sleep, no problem. So that was one of the big things that changed. And just knowing that I'm not doing it for myself anymore. That I'm not, it's not just for me. Soccer pays the bills, for the house, whatever it may be, that's the main income. So it's not a joke, So that's everything is much more serious when there are mouths to be fed.
Yeah, absolutely. Have your daughter's getting a little older now? Is she starting to understand that her dad's like a pro footballer and that there's does she have any understanding of that yet?
She knows. She calls it work. So like my wife will be like, oh, daddy's going to be gone this weekend. He's got a game. She's like, oh, is he leaving for work again? Or she'll see me on TV. She'll say I'm working. But she loves it because she knows what I do. She knows what I do now, and now she's hitting the age. She's 4 years old now. She's able to, kick the ball around, run around with me and stuff like that. And it's she hasn't been able to come to the games recently just because we have a newborn. Yeah. But when she starts coming to the games, she's gonna want to run around on the field and stuff like that. So it's
7:30
nice.
p.m. kickoff's tough with a newborn and a toddler.
It's tough.
Your newborn.
Yeah.
Born during preseason.
Yeah.
I was in preseason with you guys, and you disappeared for a couple days, and then walked back into a lot of applause.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, your wife is 9 months pregnant, about to burst. You're training every day, like trying to see when you're gonna go back. What was that experience like?
It was. You're a little bit on edge because you never know when it's gonna happen. I'm thinking they were saying like February 17th was the due date or something like that. So I'm thinking, okay, we're good after preseason, I'll already be home. But no, it wasn't like that at all. She came like almost 2 weeks early.
Oh man.
I'm asleep. Sean's my roommate. I'm getting like 3 missed calls. She's calling me. And at first I was like, why is she calling me? And I was like, oh, the baby. So she called me. She's like, oh, my water broke. So I called Chris because he had his car. We drove up together because we came a little bit late.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, can I use your car to drive back to Vegas? He was like, no problem. 2 a.m. I'm speeding. I actually ran into I didn't crash into him, but I saw a few wild burros on the side of the road. I was like, oh, it's pitch black. I was riding on a desert road.
What time is this?
This is like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So it's like
dead middle of the night.
Yeah. And the Navi didn't take me on the main highway. It took me on these desert roads. So there was no light. But
I know exactly what road you're talking about because me and Omar, our videographer, he's behind the camera right now. We drove there, and it took us a wild way to Coachella
because you can't even speed. You have to be very aware. But I made it. Thank you, Chris, for letting me use the whip, and everything went good.
Man, amazing. And then straight back in a couple days later.
Straight back in it. My mother-in-law was there. Shout out to my mother-in-law. She came from Germany, so she was helping out a lot.
Amazing. So very little sleep right now for you and the wife, I assume.
Is what it is. Right back to it.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Amazing. All right. Well, let's back up for you. Let's back up to when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. You were born in Tampa.
Yep.
But grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. Is
Yep.
that correct? What was it like growing up there with your family and that town outside of soccer?
Yeah. It was cool, man. It's a very diverse area, so the community, we had a lot of African immigrants, a lot of people from El Salvador, a lot of people just from Europe, all over. So the soccer community was huge. And just being outside all the time, playing with friends, playing sports. Soccer wasn't even my first sport. I was playing basketball.
Oh, wow.
I was playing basketball. I was playing football in the neighborhood a lot.
You have siblings? Were you playing with?
No, just the neighborhood friends.
Okay,
just the guys. My sister, she's 6 years younger than me, so she wasn't in the picture just yet.
Yeah.
But it was nice, man. It was only good memories.
Yeah, I mean, interesting because your dad, Philip Gyau, is a former pro soccer player. He played outdoor, he played indoor, he played for U.S. National Beach Soccer. He has 6 U.S. men's national team caps.
Yep.
He's now the head coach at Howard University, still there
Yep.
since 2014. Your grandfather, who you're named after, I assume, he moved to the U.S. in 1968.
Yep.
He had won 2 African Cup of Nations with Ghana, was at the 1964 Summer Olympics with Ghana, and then played pro here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So you've got some soccer heritage.
It's in the blood,
in
man.
the family. What was that like growing up? Was there pressure to be a pro soccer player, or not really?
Not really, just because you know how it is when people say like you're born into it.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. There was like it wasn't up for discussion. It was like once you're of age, this is the way.
But you were still playing basketball as a kid.
I was still playing basketball, but this is how it went. It was like I like to play basketball because it was easier. I was able to use it with my hands. So like my dad, he played basketball too a little bit. So we would hoop, and then after that, he was like, okay, after we hoop, you're gonna do some soccer, So soccer was always gonna be the thing. And then once I was like 6 years old, that's when I went and played for my first team, the Bethesda Roadrunners. And after that, there was no more. Like I still played basketball in the season and stuff like that during basketball season for school, but soccer was the main thing from then on. But Yeah, man, just my dad actually took me to Brazil with him when he went to one of the beach soccer tournaments. Cool. So, like, being able to be around that, being able to see him play, that was my idol, you know. My grandpa, he was still in Ghana at the time, so I didn't know, we didn't have that much of a relationship early on. Not until later when we used to go back to Ghana did I start to learn much more about him. But
interesting.
Yeah. Being in a small town like that, I don't want to say a small town, but being in Silver Spring or being in the DMV, and my dad grew up there, my grandfather played there, everybody knew the last name. So like, we're at soccer tournaments, people were like, I used to play with your dad. And I'm like 10 years old, like, who is this guy? Every second somebody's like, you know your dad? I hope you're as good as your dad. I'm like, all right, I get it every time. So.
Yeah. I mean, as you know now, as a pro soccer player, it's actually a very small world. You start running into people all the time,
small world.
Especially I think that 60s, 70s, 80s, that NASL world, like that was a really tight, the original American pro soccer community is a tight community. So. You mentioned Bethesda, the Bethesda Roadrunners. Is that the youth club you played for throughout your youth?
Yep.
What was it like playing for them before? Because you went to IMG after that. Yeah. So what was the journey from Bethesda through that youth program and into IMG?
It was cool because, like I said before, it was a melting pot of guys, and those guys became like some lifelong friends. You know, my dad was the coach with another guy from Norway. Just building that team, putting it together. And this is before like developmental academy and all that stuff. It was like the Wild Wild West, honestly. You just make a team, play in a league, and you know, you go to your tournaments. And it's not like now where you had tournaments every single weekend. It was like you had to wait a few months. There were seasonal tournaments, you know. In my area, we had the Jefferson Cup, Bethesda tournament, Dallas Cup, but those were 3-4 months apart. So the tournaments were pretty big. State Cup was big. Regionals was big.
Otherwise, you're just playing like local games.
Otherwise, you're just playing local games, and we're blowing teams out 20-0, 15-0. Parents are going to the league commission saying that we're cheating and this, that. Because on my team, so I want to say at one point we had 6 or 7 national team players on my team. 4 of us went to residency in IMG. Yeah. And I went to Germany a few years later. My best friend went to Marseille in France. I mean, we had guys go to Portland, play for DC, guys go to Cottbus. So it was like, it was a good team.
You racked up some caps for the U17s. You have 29 caps for the U17s. You played a lot of youth national team. Yeah. And that, I think, is something that people don't understand now. Like back then, the youth national teams, I think, were almost a bigger deal than they are now. Yeah, they were big. Because that was your opportunity to get seen, to like play at an elite level. Yeah. And they had the residency program. Exactly. It was a different time in the youth national team setup.
It was much different. And also the scouting was different. So it wasn't like, how it is now with MLS Next and all this stuff. You've got, some people are associated with this club, so you're going to get seen just through these games or whatever. You had to go for your state team. You had to make the state team. Then you got to go for the regional team, got to make the regional team. Then from the regional team, you play against all the other regions in a tournament. Region 1, we won that. So Region 1, that's Maryland, Virginia, da-da-da-da. Yeah. Then you go to the national camp. It was like 120 players. This whole process took like months to actually narrow it down. And then after you get into the national pool, then they start picking players from that to make it to the national team. So it was really like a pyramid, you know? So you were really seeing like all the top guys from different states and stuff like that. And one of the assistant coaches from last year, Jerson, he was my coach when I was 14 down in residency. Yeah, wow. So when I was coming here and I found out that he was here, it was like full circle. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, Jerson Echeverry is in El Paso.
He's in El Paso now.
Locomotive.
Yeah, that was my guy.
Wow, that's incredible. So then the residency program starts. You've been in the national team picture for a while now after grinding your way through this level up the pyramid. Was there a big decision point there to go off to Florida and do a residency program? How old were you at this point?
14 at the time. So
Wow.
I was a sophomore in high school. And, you know, right before we went down there, I didn't make like 1 or 2 camps. And, you know, when you're young, you don't get called to the camp. All your friends are getting called to the camp.
Into the world.
I'm like, dang, is this it for me? I don't know, man. I might have to think of something else. But then they start making the rounds for residency. John Hackworth was the coach at the time. We get the email, and my pops was like, "You're going, of course, no brainer." So we go down to IMG, and it was amazing how they had the setup down there. Like, they called it dorms, but these were like townhomes that they had us staying in, which was super nice. But I don't know if it was a great idea because we're like 14, 15 roommates. We're just trashing the townhouses, you know. But it was a great experience because it was really like being in a soccer school. So you train early in the morning, gym session, come back, eat your breakfast, go to practice, and then come back, shower, go to school. And then sometimes you might have a session after that, or you fly to Argentina for tournaments. But like everything was centered around football.
Yeah, which is what most of the MLS academies and academies across the world, that's the structure. But when you were coming up, the only opportunity for an experience like that was to be a part of the residency program. You had to make it to residency, or you were doing the good old youth soccer track. So that's really fascinating. So then you go from there, and then you sign for Hoffenheim, but you're not 18 yet, so you can't go to Germany because of legal work permit reasons. So then they loan you to Vancouver Whitecaps for their residency program. You stay there for a little while until you can make it to Hoffenheim.
Exactly.
How did that happen? I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, man. In soccer, everything is, pretty well orchestrated, especially when teams are making deals with minors like that. So there was a German coach that was head of the Vancouver residency program.
Okay.
And he was working with Hoffenheim. So him and the academy director at the time were very close. So he thought, okay, there's no better place for him to go than Vancouver. So while I'm in Vancouver, Hoffenheim, they're sending him the videos for me to study my position. So at that time I was playing number 10, second striker, and they had this Brazilian guy, Carlos Eduardo, that was playing for the first team. So they used to show me the video films and show me how he would move, what positions that they wanted me to be in. The German guy, Thomas Niendorf, he would actually come to school and they would give him a portable for us to do game study before we went to school. So the setup was pretty crazy. But it was nice. We had a host family up there. Vancouver was amazing. Winter Olympics was going on over there, so it was a great experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were able to go check some of that stuff out.
Yeah, it was nice.
What an experience. Vancouver is a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful city. I've been there a couple of times with Charlotte FC away games in my position prior to this. But it's a great place. So then you finally turn 18.
Yeah.
So as soon as you turn 18, you're off to Hoffenheim?
As soon as I turned, a couple months before. So my birthday's in September. I went there June.
Okay.
Something like that. I go over there and I'm with I start off with the U19s, and we were in the U19 DFB Pokal, and they won it that year.
Which is the cup competition.
Which is
right?
the cup
like
competition.
The US Open Cup.
Exactly. And that was big, man. There was so many good players on that U19 team. Jonas Hoffmann, he still plays for Bayer Leverkusen right now, plays for the German national team. Pascal Gross played for Brighton. He's at Dortmund right now. Marco Terrazzino, he retired. But, there was a lot of good Hoffenheim, their youth program was top. So going over there, I don't want to say it was a culture shock because I had been in professional environments for a long time, but just the attention to detail that they had going on over there and the emphasis that they put on the development, They used to do this thing called perspective training. So, they would take all the best players in the academy from the U16, 17, and U19 team, and you would train all together before school. So the bus would pick everybody up at 6:30 in the morning. You train with this one, it was a Dutch guy. You do intensive technique work, first touch, one-time finish, this type of stuff. And then you go to school, and then you have your U19 team practice after school at 6 o'clock, then call it a day. And then after 6 months of that, I moved up to the first team with Ralph Ragnick. And then
Did you speak German?
Yeah.
So
fluent.
Were you fluent before you went?
Nah.
So did you arrive with no German?
My dad got me Rosetta Stone. So I was doing Rosetta Stone.
This is pre-Duolingo.
Yeah. You had to load it up on the laptop. Yeah. So I'm on Rosetta Stone for like a few months before I head over.
Okay, so you have some basic
I got
German.
basic German. But like when I got over there, they put me in a German class. I had to go there every other day from 8 to 12. Intensive German, like they would not speak to me in English. They would only speak to me in German. And if
sink or swim.
Yeah, sink or swim. If I responded in English, they acted like they didn't know what I was saying. So it was good in the long run. That's the
only way to learn in the end.
Yeah.
It's the only way to learn.
the only way to learn.
How long until you felt like you were comfortable? Like until you felt like you weren't drowning?
Yeah, I want to say it was like a good 6-7 months before I could I had the football German and then, your regular daily life German that came around. Because my host mom couldn't speak any English either. So I'm in the house pointing at stuff like, can I... Yeah. So, yeah.
What year was this? This is
2010, 2011.
Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of like, we're thinking of this from a 2025 perspective, someone listening to this. This is like pre-smartphone era. This isn't just like, I can stick this in Google Translate.
Yeah.
Like this is
you're
like carrying a flip phone around at this time.
Brick phone, prepaid, loaded minutes, no FaceTime. So you need Skype. And at the time, my guest mother, she was a little bit old school. Germany is not as modern as USA. So she didn't have any internet. So like I'm at the house trying to call home and I can't until I get this prepaid phone. And in Germany on Sundays, everything is closed. So like if I have a game on Saturday and I can't get to the store in time, I'm not calling home all weekend. So it was a
different time.
Yeah,
a different time. Yeah, for sure. But that's ton of fun. Okay, so then you go through that experience, right? And then you arrive at the first team.
Yeah.
Was that a big shock to the system? You arrive in first team training and go, this is the level?
As much as, you hear people say like, whoa, at that time, no. Just because that was the path. I was following the path that they had planned already. So that was the plan. 6 months, you're with the U19 to get acclimated. Then you're going to be up with the first team training, and you're going to play games with the second team. And then when you're ready, you'll be fully in games with the first team. So when I was up with the first team, I was like, oh, finally. So guys with the likes of Roberto Firmino, Ryan Babel, Vedad Ibisevic, like Demba Ba, all these guys were up there, man. And it was just Edson Brafied. It was just really cool just to finally be amongst top tier players, because when you're up there, your level, you rise to that level, and they also demand, if you're a young player, they demand, this is what I mean, this is a different time. When you're a young guy and you come up, they're demanding so much of you. Like, if I'm taking a bad touch, guys are on me like, get him out of here. Yeah. Like
get him out of the session.
Get him out of the session.
He's
like
ruining the quality.
If I don't finish an easy sitter, guys are clowning me like, you ain't cut out for this. And I'm like, okay, I really need to, show what I'm made of.
That molds you at that age.
It does.
It
does.
And I think necessary. I mean, if you're going to be playing for the first team, you're going to go play at home in Hoffenheim. You're going to play, you go to Dortmund later, and we'll get to that, but you go play away at Dortmund in front of the yellow wall. Like, you got to have some thick skin. You got to be ready. And if you can't take it in training, then you ain't going to take it on the field in the Bundesliga.
Exactly. So you had to be ready. It was good, though.
Wow. Fascinating. Okay, so you go on loan at a certain point to St. Pauli. I think for a season, maybe a season and a half.
Yeah, season.
What was that experience like?
That was nice. Just because, around that time, 2012, in the States, you don't have that kind of football culture,
Yeah.
And Hoffenheim, it was a fairly, not a new club, but like they had come all the way up finally to the Bundesliga. The owner had a lot of money, but it didn't have like the following, the legendary history like St. Pauli, like Dortmund, like, you know, Schalke, some of these teams, you know.
Yeah.
So finally I go to Pauli, and it's like you feel it in the city. Obviously, there's two big teams. There's HSV and then there's St. Pauli. And like when you go into that section of Hamburg, into the section of the city, man, you just see the flag everywhere, you know, the skull and bones. There was an amusement park outside of our stadium. It's called the Dome, Hamburger Dome. That's what it was. So like you could be at the game and you'll see like the roller coaster going while we're playing the games. It was
St. Pauli has a very
different.
I mean, they've gone a bit viral because they've been up and back and forth in the Bundesliga, but they're like very fan driven, fan owned, I think. I think the setup there.
I don't know exactly, but I do know the fans have huge influence. I know Union Berlin, they might be fan owned.
Yeah.
But the fans in Pauli, they have a huge influence, man. And just being in that stadium, Millantor was nice. You know, they play the Hell's Bells before the game, walking out there. The fan, they live that. They live that. So it was
amazing.
Like 20 at the time, so it was crazy experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been through a lot, and we're still only at you're 20 years old. Right? Like this has been a lot. So then Dortmund comes calling.
Yeah.
So how does the St. Pauli loan wrap up? Back to Hoffenheim, you end up at Dortmund. How do all these puzzle pieces connect?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to stay at Pauli, but the sporting director had said that Hoffenheim wanted too much money for me. So I go back to Hoffenheim, and I was actually there for one more season before I went to Dortmund. There was a coaching change at Hoffenheim. He was cutting down the roster, bringing a lot of his own guys. They moved me back to the second team. So I do the first half of the season with the second team. I'm just trying to grind it out. They bring me back up. I start to play a few games with the first team. I actually played against Dortmund the last game of the season in Dortmund. And at the end of the season, I get a text from David Wagner, who's at the second team at Dortmund. And he says, I was at the stadium. Good game. He used to be at Hoffenheim. He used to work at Hoffenheim. So he knew me from there. So that summer, I go home, I'm training. My agent calls me. He's like, yo, everything's finished. Deal's done. You're going to Dortmund. And I remember I'm in the basement with my family because a lot of time had passed. Like, Hoffenheim asked for this. Dortmund was like, no, da-da-da-da. So I'm thinking like, dang, this might not happen.
Right.
It happens. Being in the moment, it was like an outer body experience.
Yeah.
Kind of. You're like, whoa, I'm going.
Yeah, to Dortmund.
To Dortmund.
Which is one of the biggest clubs in Germany, if not the world.
This is right after they were in Champions League final, you know, like
Robert Lewandowski.
I
mean, they are like at the forefront of
the pinnacle.
Yeah.
This was after the year that Lewandowski scored 4 goals against Madrid.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's get to work. Hop on the plane. I'm over there. And they actually have a meeting. And David Wagner and Klopp and the other sporting director are there. And they're like, okay, so first, we don't want you to get too excited just yet. We're going to have you with the second team in the beginning. And when you're ready, then you can come up. And the second team was playing in the highest league at the point, third division. That's the highest the second team can go. So it was also still a pretty big deal. Like third league, you're getting like, some teams are getting 30,000 fans, you know?
Yeah.
So I go over there. After 2 weeks of preseason, David Wagner calls me to the office. He's like, yeah, Klopp wants to see you now. He wants you up there.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, we didn't mention that earlier. This is Jurgen Klopp era.
This is Jurgen Klopp era.
Which, now with hindsight, you're like, I mean, he was already a big deal at the time. Yeah. But now you're like, wow, that's
legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary.
What was your experience like? What was that meeting with Jurgen?
Yeah, man, I go, we fly to Austria for preseason training camp. And he's like, his English is very good. And he was speaking to me in English. And he was like, yeah, David was telling me a lot of good things about you. So just come up here, play your game. You know, we're excited. I go up there, I do my thing, I score a few goals in preseason, and he's like, yeah, you're with us now. You're not going back anymore. So I was like, so I was up there training with them, and then like game time, I would play games on the weekend with David Wagner's team.
Yep.
And that also stopped after like 4 or 5 games.
Right.
So like
the beginning of the 2014
season. So like, we have a game against Regensburg or something like that. I score early brace. And I go back into training with Klopp, and he's like, yeah, we were at the stadium. Good performance. But, they can't give you too much praise. They got to, let you know something. He was like, great performance, but I still want you better in the Umschaltbewegung. That's like your transition moment. Like he was like, with your speed, as soon as anybody on the field wins it, I want you sprinting up. Or as soon as we lose it, this was the gegenpressing era.
I was about to ask about gegenpressing.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like, as soon as anybody loses it, the first 5 seconds, we need to swarm the ball. If we don't get it right away, then drop off. And like seeing that happen in real time in training, I'm like, because, you watch it on TV when, other teams are playing, and you're seeing like Schmelzer and Großkreuz and these guys just crushing guys and win it on top of the box and score it.
Yeah.
Being in training, then watching it happen, as soon as anybody loses the ball, next thing you know, there's like 3 guys around you. I'm like, oh my days. This is, everything was in like fast forward, you know? So, yeah, that was also a bit of an adjustment.
But what an era. And in that era of football, like really changed football. I mean, now you look at it, now every team across the world has some form of counter press, high press, whatever you want to call it. But it is like a fundamental part of elite football. Yeah. All the top teams are counter pressing at that level now. Yeah. But that was at the forefront at the time.
That was the beginning of it. Yeah. Man.
Okay, so then, I mean, this is like really a huge fall 2014 for you, because this is when you break into the senior national team as well with the U.S. Yeah. So you made your first start for the U.S. in 2014 against what was then Czech Republic, now Czechia. Yeah. And then you made your second start against Ecuador. So this was like October, September time. But you only made it 15 minutes in that Ecuador game. And this is, I think, where the problems begin maybe, because you go down with a meniscus tear in that game, 15 minutes in, have to get subbed off. Yeah. You were playing for Jurgen Klinsmann at the time, so another Jurgen. Yeah. First, tell me about what it was like to get that first U.S. cap before we get to the injuries and all the fallout from there.
Yeah. I had actually, when I was at Pauli, Jurgen Klinsmann called me up to a camp in 2012 when they played Russia. So but I didn't play. He really just wanted to call me up just to get me a feel for everybody. So this is like Jeff Cameron, Maurice Edu, Jermaine Jones, Josie Altidore, Michael Bradley, all those guys are still there, Juan Agudelo, good friend of mine, Josh Gatt, a lot of top players. So then fast forward to when I actually played. So he calls me down into the lobby, and he's like, yeah, so we're going to give you the number 7. All right, don't get too excited. All right, I still baby steps, and in my head I'm just screaming. And then like flat out from there, he was like, I just want to be honest with you. You're gonna be a part of this group moving forward to the 2018 World Cup. Like you're gonna be a part of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I go back up to my room. My roommate was Bobby Wood at the time. We're still best friends right now. And I was like, bro, you won't believe it. He was like, what? I was like, I got the number 7. And we sometimes we speak in German because he was playing at 1860 and all that stuff at the time too. And we're just like excited at the time, and you're getting everything. You're getting all these clothes from Nike, from, the sponsorships from the national team. And it's just everything coming together, from the time we were talking about, from, growing up, the Bethesda time. This is what you dream about. So it was a great time. We end up winning against Czech Republic. I don't know, was it 1-0?
I'm not sure.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
I think it was 1-0. Yeah. I want to say Bedoya scored.
Man, what a time too, because this is, I mean, important. Like this is right after the Brazil World Cup.
Right after.
So this is like, I mean, that was an incredible World Cup. Like I remember watching that World Cup on TV. So you're in the picture now, like just after that. There's a lot of momentum around the team. I mean,
man, it was
what a time.
It was a nice time. So then the Ecuador game comes around, and same thing. This was Landon Donovan's last game.
Wow.
And I just remember I had the ball on the left side. I push it down the line to make a run for it. And I was wearing studs, and like my cleat kind of got caught in the ground. You know, my knee kind of buckled a little bit. And I just felt this like sharp pain. I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. Up until that point, I had never been injured, no muscle injuries, nothing. You know, young guy, you just get out on the field, just run. So then I finished the play. I run back on defense, but then I was like, oh, man, something's not right. So I come out of the game. Originally, they think it's just like a meniscus tear. So when I'm back in Germany, they give me the surgery. And then I'm back within like 4 or 5 weeks. I'm back playing again. But I'm having like immense pain. Like I'm in the bed at night wincing after every game, icing and everything. Then come to find out, we do another MRI. A chunk of my cartilage had fallen off of my knee. So it was so this was like quite serious because cartilage doesn't regenerate on its own. So they get the diagnosis from the doc. They tell me it's going to be like 9 to 12 months. This is what they say in the beginning. And Jurgen Klopp calls me into his office, and I'll never forget this. Quote, he was like, just think of Dortmund as your girlfriend, and you're going away for a long time. We're going to be here when you get back. Just get healthy. We'll be here. So I was like, that made me feel better, you know. But I didn't know how long it would actually take. It ended up actually taking 22 months. So it wasn't 12 months. It actually took much longer, and it was 4 surgeries, a full cartilage replacement, like extensive rehab. I got to learn how to hop on one leg, jog, sprint, basically from ground zero, you know. So that took me out for a while. Man,
that must have been like really tough.
Yeah,
that must have been a dark time mentally.
Yeah, it was rough.
You go from being a part of Dortmund, you're in Jurgen Klopp's office, you're at the forefront, you're part of the team, like leading into the 2018 World Cup. You're like, you finally broke through, and then the worst possible thing happens.
Worst possible timing, you know?
What was your support structure like during that time? Like, what got you through a probably pretty dark period of 22 months of grinding, rehab, and back-to-back surgeries?
Man, it was, obviously the family. I'm speaking to my pops every day. My mom is coming out to visit with my sister. And one of my closest friends was actually living with me in Germany at the time. We were in residency together. That helped me out a lot because, 22 months in soccer is a long time. And so, in that time, Dortmund's is like a train, bro. They don't stop. That recruiting process, Pulisic comes through. Ousmane Dembele comes through. Adnan Januzaj comes through. Sancho comes through. Like, players are coming through, and I'm just sitting there watching. Like, I can't even walk. I'm like, geez, it was a rough period. I actually ended up getting a dog.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a dog. That helped out a lot, just being able to get out of the house 3 times a day, just walk around, just do something, take my mind off of footy. But I was locked in because I was like, man, I have to come back.
Yeah. So then what happens when you get back? Because you go to a team that I can't pronounce after Dortmund, so I'll let you say it. But in the third tier, and that's kind of your comeback team. But how does your time at Dortmund come to an end? Do you get back into training with Dortmund first, and then go off to your new team? How did the return to play?
So I get back. I get back to training with Dortmund, and I was training for like 6 or 7 months there, just to get back up to speed and everything. But at the time, so much had changed that like I needed a new start.
Was Jurgen still there?
No, Thomas Tuchel was there at the time.
Right.
You know?
So I mean, it's like the coach that you sat down with and had the whole we're going to be here is not even there anymore.
You know? So that whole staff is gone. Everything is new. Like Thomas Tuchel comes in, makes everything new, makes whole new meal plans, switches everything. So like I'm kind of I want to say an outsider, but like I've been out for 2 years.
22 months, a long time.
Exactly. So I'm talking to my agent, trying to figure out what a good move is gonna be, and we're getting the same vibes from everybody. Like, it's been 2 years. Like, he's been out super long. How is he? You know, can he? Is he still the same? Can he still go? Da da da. So the sporting director from Sonnenhof Groß Asbach, that's how you say it. he calls me up, because he remembered me from my time in Hoffenheim as well, down in the south of Germany. And he was like, look, you know, I'm willing to give you a chance. You know, there's a lot of question marks going on to see if you're fit or not. But, you know, I know what you can do. I know you're a hard worker. I know, you know, I believe in you. So I go in there January 2017. Yeah, January 2017. And yeah, man, it was good to just finally get those games in. I was there for like a season and a half.
Yeah, you made 46 appearances.
Yeah.
That's a lot for
That's
a player
lot
coming off
in a season.
2 years.
Yeah, I know. I was, you know, it wasn't all gravy because my knee was hurting in the beginning a lot. But I was like, I gotta get back. So I gotta play through it. I gotta go, you know. But it was good. It was a good time to build confidence, get those games in, and just show everybody that, you know, I was back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, you go to Duisburg?
Duisburg, yeah.
Duisburg in the second Bundesliga.
Yeah.
So a little step up in 2018-19 as you can continue that journey back.
Yep.
You made 20 appearances there. And this is when you get back to the U.S. national team as well. Around this time, you make your first and your last appearance for the national team as a friendly against Jamaica. So this must have felt rewarding in a way to be like, oh, man, like, you know, I'm getting back to that level.
Yeah. And not to mention, like, that national team game was in D.C. It was at Audi Field. So it was like all my family was able to come to the game. All my friends were able to come to the game to, you know, just see me come back after just such a long journey, after a difficult journey, you know. Yeah. But it was a great experience. And
that must have been a special night.
Oh, man, like, it was a great night.
That must have been really emotional.
Yeah, it was a great night. Even though we lost to Jamaica, I didn't care. I was like, man, all of that hard work wasn't for nothing. Like, I was able to make it back to a point. I met my then girlfriend, my now wife, while I was playing in Duisburg. And yeah, it was real nice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and we talked earlier, like, oh, you're on the path to Russia 2018. So this is now like you've seen the 2018 World Cup come and go already to this point, which is probably like a dream shattered as well, to like sit on the couch and watch that, thinking you were going to be a part of that. So
it's crazy.
To get that moment is pretty special. So then from there, you finally leave Germany. Long time in Germany, but you come back in the summer transfer window to FC Cincinnati. So you arrive at Cincinnati in the middle of their expansion season, which there's no shine away from it, was a historically bad expansion season. What was it like? I mean, you walk in the summer transfer window, you're kind of like the reinforcement to try to salvage this season. But obviously, I mean, FC Cincinnati has had a lot going for them. The fans there are incredible.
Amazing.
So you make 8 appearances there. What was it like? What was the conversations to go to Cincinnati, come back to the U.S., all that?
Yeah, so it was right around the time I got called up for the national team. Cincinnati had come calling, and I was like, yeah, why not? You know, I was homesick, you know, I had been over there for a long time, and I was like, you know, why not? This is a good opportunity. The league had grown so much since from the time I left to the time I came back, when like Kansas City Wizards were still around. All these teams were playing on football fields. There were just lines all across the pitch. And then to coming back where all these teams got their new stadiums, state-of-the-art training grounds, like it was night and day. So it was really good to come back, and like you said, the fans in Cincinnati was ridiculous. Like even at Nippert Stadium, they played at University of Cincinnati. We were getting like 35,000 fans, you know? So that was really nice. And just to get a different to play in a different culture, so to say. Because, like, I grew up most of my time, like, my foundational years was in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, you went there when you were 17, 18.
17 to 26. So I didn't really know what American soccer was like, you know? So coming back, being able to experience that, and it was just slightly different because there's no relegation.
Yeah.
You know, we were having that bad season, and it was like, we'll get them next year, you know? And, like, I had just come from a team that got relegated, you know? So Duisburg, coming from that, seeing the city, like, crumble behind us, seeing the team lose out on TV deals, sponsorships, you know, some of my teammates that got kids, contracts getting cut in half. Yeah. And now I'm at Cincy and we're losing, and it's like, next year, you know, we got it, you know? But that was different. But the
thoughts on promotion relegation then? Like, do you think it's a good overall good thing, overall bad thing coming in? I mean, I'm just curious.
For the essence of football, pro relegation is the best thing, because that's what brings the passion. That's what brings, you know, the life into the game. From a business standpoint, obviously, if I own a team, why would I say we want to do pro relegation? Why would I vote to lose money? Potentially, you know? Yeah. So I understand both sides, but, like, having that sense of urgency as a player when, you know, things are on the line or fighting to get that promotion, that's a feeling that, like, every player should experience. You know, every player should get to experience it that one time, because it's thrilling, man. When money is on the line like that, if I'm sure everybody watches the Prem, you see how guys are celebrating when you get a win, the bonuses you get from a win, you know, the bonuses you get for going up, the bonuses you get for salvaging staying in the league is ridiculous. I'm on the field screaming. I didn't score, but I'm screaming if we get a win. It's like, yes! 2 months rent paid just off of the win, off of the point. You know, so
yeah, absolutely. And community appearances take a different tinge there as well. Media appearances.
Yeah.
There's pressure. There's people asking, you got to keep us up. Like, it's both people's livelihoods, but also, like, it's their escape.
You lose a game and you're out for dinner. They're like, what are you doing outside? Wait, I can't eat?
Yeah.
You know, so it's different.
Yeah. Okay, incredible. All right, and then Cincinnati, you spent the pandemic in Cincinnati. Yeah. Was your girlfriend, or were you married at that time?
We got married during the pandemic.
Okay, so she was in Cincinnati.
She was in Cincinnati
at the time.
Yeah.
You played the MLS's back tournament down in Orlando, all the testing. I was there. I was running media ops at MLS back. That was an insane time. And then 2021 season as well. What was the back half of that pandemic, and then coming out of the pandemic with Cincinnati like?
Yeah, pandemic was wild just because you don't know what's going on. Yeah. And then we were like, everything was shut down right after the first game of the season. So we're like shut down for like a few months. Then finally they announce we can come back individually into training. So we're doing the test. They're sticking the nose swab all the way up into your brain every morning. We're doing like just pure fitness on the field. Like everybody has their own box, you know? And then finally all the news comes out. We vote on, you know, going down to the bubble. We head down to the bubble. It was a cool experience in that, like, the whole team was just in one resort, you know? So obviously you're not supposed to meet up with other teams and stuff like that on other floors, but like you have friends on, you know? So that was cool to just see everybody in one place. The games were kind of wild though, because like we're in the middle of hurricane season and some of these games are getting postponed to like 1 a.m. I remember our game against Portland was like, we didn't start that game until midnight or something like that.
Trust me, bro. I know. I was there.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what it is.
I was trying to run media ops for that thing. I was sitting on the sideline like, can we kick the game
ridiculous.
Off? I was like sheltering under the little tent.
Man, that was and it's like hard storms too. Yeah. So that was, you know, quite an experience. But then jumping back into market, doing that. But the good thing that came from all of that was like you flew private. Yeah. Everybody got their own room. You know, those were some good things that came from that, because the CBA was renewed that year.
So now MLS is all charter flights, and All that stuff.
It's
man.
nice.
I know me and
the
you
good
both,
life.
Yeah, we missed the charter flights.
The
That's
good
for
life.
sure.
You know, no, not waiting at a gate or anything. You just hop onto the plane, fly, hop off.
Got your whole row.
The whole row.
Yeah.
They bring in the snacks just for you.
Incredible.
You know, I'm
stuff.
getting back at a timely fashion. My wife's not screwed. Where are you?
Yeah.
You know, so no, that was nice. And then
the reality of divisions. And
it is what it is.
It's how it is.
It is what it is.
Okay, so then let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Last stop before we get to Las Vegas. Degerfors?
Yep, Degerfors.
Okay, in Sweden. You spend 2 years there.
Yeah.
2 seemingly good years, 22 appearances in 22, 26 appearances in 2023, some assists, some goals. Got to live in Sweden, different life experience.
Yeah.
What was it like there? And I imagine doing the math, your daughter was born when you were in Sweden?
No, she was born right before we went to Sweden.
Got you.
She was born in 2021. We went to Sweden in 2022.
Yeah. Okay. So what was Sweden like? Why'd you go there?
So we went there because after the season had ended in Cincinnati, we had kind of wanted something new, you know. But you know how negotiations go. Like, you're not trying to go down on your number in the MLS because how the contract is kind of set up. Every year that you're in the MLS, you kind of want to make incremental advances instead of going down. And, you know, with the options and everything, let's say your team puts you at a high option. Okay, so you hit everything, all the games, all your little bonuses or whatever, all the things that you need to hit the bonus. But my situation, we didn't make playoffs, right? So they were saying, we want you to stay, obviously, but we don't want to pay the option number. We want a little bit more than what you're on, but less than your option. And I'm like, nah, I want that bag. You know, so I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think you know firsthand how quickly it all can end based on the entire injury conversation we just had.
Exactly.
So there's no guarantee there's another contract after that.
Right.
So you need to look out for your family. You've got a kid at this time. So
exactly. So I'm just trying to get the most I can.
Yeah.
But I was sticking to my guns. They were sticking to theirs. And then I had an agent reach out to me about a team in Sweden. And I was like, you know what? My wife's from Germany. You know, I know she misses home. You know, so it's not a crazy flight from Sweden to Germany. So we went over there, and that was a crazy experience because obviously how do I say it? You know, obviously insurance and everything is tied into your taxes. So all that stuff is free. The schooling for my daughter, that was like astronomically cheaper than what I would have been paying in the States. Like, if she was 1 year old going to a daycare in Cincinnati, they were trying to charge me $400 a week. In Sweden, the max that you can pay for childcare is $150 a month. It doesn't matter if you make this or this, it's capped at $150. So that was like, I was like, whoa. No wonder Scandinavian people never leave. Like, they love it over here. It's nice, you know? Yeah. And then the football as well. I don't want to say it surprised me because I had a lot of teammates that played over there, but like being able to experience it firsthand, the fans, like, Degerfors, so my club, like a real traditional club. The fans, we're in a rural part of Sweden. The players, a lot of us lived in the city, but where that was, it was like in the countryside a bit, but like they live, eat, sleep, breathe the club, man. So playing for them, it was a nice experience. Playing against Malmo, Djurgården, all these different teams, it was nice. It was top.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you've played for a lot of really unique fan bases, I'd say. I mean, this Swedish fan base, we're talking about St. Pauli earlier. We're talking about the uniqueness of that fan base.
Yeah.
The Yellow Wall in Dortmund, Hoffenheim, Cincinnati, and what they have going. The lower divisions in Germany, and seeing what a team means to like a smaller community.
Yeah.
I mean, you've played for some unique clubs and some
Yeah.
unique fan bases and stadiums.
It's been a good journey. A good journey.
So then that brings us to present day, almost. You arrive at Las Vegas Lights FC, decide to come back here for an interesting project, maybe a gamble of a project at the time you signed on to it. So why leave Sweden, which you clearly were enjoying your time there and your family was probably doing pretty well? Why come to Las Vegas for this Jose Bautista new project for a club that I'm sure you knew the reputation of prior to coming? I don't know. Just talk me through that. I'm really curious.
So we were actually in Germany at the time when my agent had called me about it. You know, they explained a little bit to me about what was going on. But we were also ready to come back to the States, you know, and just hearing about it, hearing Jose speak about it, and then hearing that Jerson was also here was also a big factor, because I was like, oh, snap. And I haven't, you know, and I enjoyed my time when I was playing with him back when I was much younger. And being back in the States, seeing what was going on with sports in Las Vegas as a whole, it seemed just super interesting to me. Then to also bring my family back stateside in a new part of the country that I hadn't, we never really lived on the west side like that. So we were all looking for, you know, new experiences. So that's how that came about.
Fascinating. What do you most enjoy about Las Vegas as a city now that you've lived here for a little while?
Now that we've lived here, those 2 years in Sweden were some of the coldest years of my life. So that, in combination with the seasonal darkness, was real. Like there was some times in Sweden where the sun wouldn't come up, and there was some times in the summer where the sun didn't go down. So how do I say it? Like the mood swings were very real.
That seasonal depression.
Depression was serious.
Yeah.
So, you know, coming back here, even though it gets super hot, like we enjoy seeing the blue sky every day, especially on our side of town. There's lots of brand new parks with all these splash pads and stuff like that. So my daughter can just come home from school and just be outside in the neighborhood 24/7, which is really nice.
Which, talking about you growing up and being outside all the time, and
exactly
importance, right?
Exactly. You know, and right now she likes gymnastics, so she's able to do that stuff. But in the back of my head, just like my dad, soccer's. She has no choice. No, I'm just kidding. I was about
to say, I mean, you've got 2 daughters now. Is there pressure for the 4th generation successive?
I wouldn't say pressure, you know, because like I said before, I didn't feel pressured into it. It was kind of just something that I was always around. So it just came natural. And just like her, she's always around it, whether she's coming to my games or whether I'm, you know, coaching kids or doing stuff like that. She's coming. So she just sees it all the time. So Oh, they've got options, don't they? They got options.
Got Ghanaian heritage. They've got German heritage. They could have a little national team bidding war.
I know. And my wife's half South African, so she's got her passport there too.
Okay, so you got 4 national team options.
4 national team options.
Surely
right there.
Someone wants them, right?
Surely.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about just your time at Las Vegas. Obviously, last year ended up being a pretty special season, and you've played for a lot of relegation-threatened sides over the post-injury part of your career. So, what was it like to be like playing for a contender, looking for a trophy in that Western Conference final? Just what was the 2024 journey like?
Nah, man, it was a special journey just because we had a great group of guys. The level was high. It was a very close-knit bond, and then coming down into the postseason, actually just qualifying for the postseason. This was the first time in club history. That was a great feat on its own, and then going to the Western Conference final. We all felt like we could have gone all the way. That was the only little bitter part about it at the end. We felt like we could have gone all the way. Because if we won that game against Colorado, we would have played the home final
against Rhode Island.
And almost like it was written. Yeah. But all in all, it was a great season, man. It was a pleasant surprise because coming in, it was a clean slate, whole new roster. Not many guys knew of each other from different stops and mutual friends, but not many guys had actually played with each other, you know, so it was turned out to be a great experience.
Amazing. And then 2025,
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten off to a good start for you.
Yeah.
Lots of minutes, lots of starts. You scored a great goal against New Mexico that is part of the intro and outro of this pod. So
Yes.
I've watched it multiple times now, every time we put this pod together. What was that goal like?
It was nice. It was nice.
I mean, obviously we lose the game in the end, so it's got like a bittersweet feeling. But
bittersweet
it's
feeling.
a good goal.
Bittersweet feeling, but it's a good goal. You score that goal in the 90th minute, you're like, oh, yeah, we got the tie.
Yeah.
Okay, at least we tied it up. And then we go and lose it. But, you know, nonetheless, it's always great to score a nice goal like that. We scored against New Mexico, against Dennis. Obviously, he was our old coach. So that was a good little clash right there. But, yeah, we want more.
What's your goals for the 2025 season, both as a team and as an individual? What are you looking for at this point in your career?
Yeah, man, just keep falling into that leadership role. Keep being a guy that, you know, players can come to if they got any questions, whether it be about here, you know, future moves, things like that. And just trying to be, how do I say it, just a calm essence on the pitch, you know. If things are getting wild, you know, just to be able to calm the game down, just to, you know, bring the experience into play. And personally, just, you know, keep contributing to the team, keep getting those minutes, score some more goals. And, yeah, you know, try and make it into the postseason again this season. Because, you know, if you make it into the postseason, anything can happen after that.
Yeah.
So.
Long conversation here. You have a lot of stops in your career, really interesting journey to bring you to 2025. Looking back on it, you know, having now talked for over an hour about like where you've been, is there anything that sticks out to you in your career? Anything that you're like, man, that really shaped me, or that was a special experience, or I don't know, anything like that?
Man, all of them. I mean, mainly the injury. The injury definitely shaped my thinking. It shaped who I am as a person. You know, meeting my wife in Germany, you know, you go out to Germany with dreams of, you know, playing at the highest level, and then I come back, so to say, with a family, you know.
Yeah.
That's that was a huge thing for me. And just, I take all of the experiences in stride. All of them I'm super grateful for, because once you make all these stops, you're able to understand how difficult it is. You know, like seeing all the players that I've played with, seeing how much they sacrifice, how much I sacrifice for the game. It's really like a badge of honor, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I guess without the injury, you don't go to Duisburg, you don't meet your
wife.
wife.
I don't meet my wife.
Yeah. You can play the what if game all the time with your career, but like, I mean, you are where you are because of everything that's happened to you over the course.
You know? And injuries are part of the game as well.
Yeah.
That's what comes with it.
Yeah.
It's high.
Absolutely.
It's high intensity, high demand. And that's just what happens.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I've let this run long enough. Congratulations, you're the longest pod so far.
Yes.
You've got the longest career of everyone we've talked to, but lots of interesting stuff. I appreciate, you know, just how open you've been, and I think a lot of people can take a lot from your journey. So looking forward to seeing what you do in 2025 with the team, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Next up, away at Orange County in the Jägermeister Cup. Tune in to watch that one before the team comes back home on Wednesday night in another Jägermeister Cup match. Thank you, Joe. Thank you to everyone. See you next time. It's gonna fall in behind for Pizza.